Hello lovely people, it's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. Excuse me while I continue to crochet my little swatch here. I have decided to do a vest or sleeveless sweater with this Merry Maximus Caron Anniversary Cake. Considering how huge this is and how many yards or meters there are in it, I think I'm probably only going to be using at most a third of it to make this sweater vest. I found the pattern on Ravelry, and I will definitely link to it under the video. And the website, so it's free if you want the, if you don't mind, it being on a blog rather than a PDF. You can get it for free, and it's knitcrowaddict.com. So I will definitely give you the link for that so that you can go and check it out. It's a really, really, really easy pattern. It's obviously super bulky. I already did a swatch with my 8mm hook, which was the recommended hook size, but my stitches were a tiny bit small because I was getting slightly more than I should have been in the 4 inches. So now I am trying with the 9mm hook, and yeah, that's looking good too. I really liked the fabric I was getting with the 8mm hook. But this is good too, and hopefully my stitches are big enough that I'm getting my 8 stitches to 4 inches. How ridiculous, 2 stitches to the inch. So yeah, I knitted a fun vest from a drops pattern Yarn Studio last fall, I think, or maybe the end of last summer. Not sure, maybe it was last fall, because this yarn tends to only come out in the fall, and it stays at Michael's through Christmas, and then they put it on sale and it's gone. And I used a different colorway for that vest, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think having a sleeveless sweater is good when you're, post-menopause and you tend to feel a little overheated sometimes. So it's coming along. I'm going to do a proper swatch. It's going to be bigger than 4 inches both ways, and I'm going to measure it properly. I'm not going to wash it because it's acrylic, and acrylic, in my experience, doesn't change when you wash it. It usually stays the same gauge. So I'm happy to not wash it. I have had a very pleasant day today. I've been out for a walk. We had to wait for the rain to stop to go out for a walk. Oh, what a lovely feeling that was. It's a nice soft day. I did get a bit of footage of my deck flowers and herbs for you, which will no doubt come up a bit later in this video. And I have also got a little bit of footage of the other things I've been doing today, which have included Wreck This Journal and some sewing with denim scraps, making pincushions. So you'll see more of that in a little bit. I don't think you can see what's next to me on my dress form, so no sneak peek for you. You'll have to see that in one of the clips coming up. It's a larger item, also made with upcycled jeans. And the funny thing was, when I was cleaning out my sewing room, not cleaning out my sewing room, I was tidying up the other day. And I found this little apron that I had made. A really, really simple way to make an apron. It was just the back butt part of some jeans, and I left the waistband on it. It's still got the original jeans button and buttonhole on. And I made this when I was at Fabricland, and it was fantastic when you needed extra pockets, especially at inventory time when we were always carrying around pens and all sorts of other little bits and pieces. And I did this little applique with Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. And it's just getting to the point now where the petals are starting to lift. This was years ago. And I did throw it in the wash a couple of days ago just because it had been hanging around in my sewing room for so long. Yeah, really, really, really basic. So I don't know if I'm going to need a waist apron for anything, but I was happy to find that again. I'd forgotten I had it. I just wanted to get an intro done so that I can start editing the clips this week towards the weekend, so that I'm not doing everything on the weekend. My festival admin was super quick today. It was only 2 emails to deal with, so that was really easy. And I do have a plan for dinner, so that's organized. So I feel like life is a little bit more under control at the moment, which is always good. So just a few more rows to do on this swatch. I'll make sure my stitches and rows are close enough to what they should be. And then I can start this sweater vest. It's one of those projects where you're making, I think you're making the waist ribbing sideways with single crochet rows, and then you work up for the body. And yeah, not anything I haven't done before, really simple. The stitch you use is half double, so there's no fancy stitch pattern to worry about. And I think it's going to be a very quick and enjoyable project to do. Probably won't need to wear it now until the fall, because we're at the end of May, and I'm pretty sure that soon as I blink, the temperatures are going to soar again, and I will not need any yarn anywhere near my body for a very long time. I absolutely love the purple in this ball. It's got sort of a soft red, purple, turquoise, green. I think there might be a little bit of the gingerbread colour that was in the other one I had. Oh, yeah, it's right here. There I was, peering into the centre of the ball to find it, but yeah, it's right there. The other one I used was white, pink, red, and this gingerbread colour. I'm not sure if there was anything else. So this one is quite different, and I don't think it's necessarily overly Christmassy. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think it's overly Christmassy? It doesn't really matter. If I want to wear it, I still will. I've been having more fun with denim, and this is my box of small pieces. Over here I have 2 boxes with lots of big pieces in, like legs and things. I've kept out my coral dyed and pink dyed pieces on the floor there for some future project. So, oh yeah, and this pile here is like raggedy stained stuff, which I'm hoping to do something with, so that it looks deliberately distressed. In fact, this project that I'm doing now was supposed to be that project, but it's turned into something else. You can probably guess what it's going to be. Yep, an apron. I started by building up scraps, and each time I sewed a seam, I'm using red thread. Each time I sewed a seam, I then opened it out, top stitched it straight away. So there's been a lot of flipping between stitch lengths in this project. I did a little sketch of what I wanted for dimensions here, and I'm loosely sticking to it. And so when I started building up the scrap fabric, I ended up going with this width, which is about 13 or 14 inches, I think. I'm going to stick with that, because by the time I've hemmed it, it's going to be about what I want it to be. I'm either going to hem it or bind it. I still haven't decided that part. So this is the top part, obviously, and then I built up the scrap fabric. Periodically, I was doing a horizontal seam, so I'd build up a piece of fabric, trim it neatly, add another piece, until I got the length I wanted. And then I built out the sides with strips of fabric there and strips of fabric there. And then I gave it a good steam and trimmed everything and cut these shaped bits out here and here. So it took me one evening to do most of it, and then today I just added the 2 outer strips, which didn't take long at all. So then what I did is I wanted to have some pockets on it. Denim jeans pockets, of course. And I just unpicked these 3 pockets from their backing fabric, and I think it took me almost as long to unpick the threads out of them as it did to sew the whole piece behind them. Oh my goodness, that was hard work. I think what I want to do, and I've got to mix them up now, so when I first started unpicking them, they looked identical, but I don't think they were quite because the stitching was different on one of them. So when I figured out which is the old one out, I'll put it up here. And then I'll put 2 pockets over here and here and sew them down with my red thread. I didn't want to leave the orange thread on there because I wanted it to be red. And then I'll have to work out what I'm doing for the edges. Unpicking all of those stitches was worth it because I really like how the red stitching looked. I did 2 rows of stitching across where the orange stitching used to be. And then I pinned them down and I did the double line of stitching all the way around. And then when I was here, I went back and forth to make sure it's nice and strong. Who knows with an apron, right? Sometimes you never use the pockets and other times you do. And I angled those a little bit just to make it look a bit more exciting. Or as exciting as a patchwork denim apron can look. So now what I want to do is I'm just looking for longer pieces in my stash so that I can make, firstly, a binding across the top here. I don't know if I want to bind the whole thing. I certainly don't want to bind the whole thing, actually. But what I do want to do is I'd like to bind that top edge. And then let me just grab another apron I've made before. This is a cute apron I made from upholstery fabric with, of course, a sewing theme. And I had cut this piece and I have a pocket on the front, curved pocket, which I divided into 2 sections. But what I did is I had hemmed, actually I think I just hemmed it on this one. Oh, that's interesting. So with this one I had just hemmed it, and then I made these long ties which started over here, and they basically bind the curved edge and carry on for the waist ties. And I really like that. And then for the other sides, I just double hemmed them. Interesting. I zigzagged this and only turned it over once, but with the rest of the edges, I double hemmed. Didn't even remember I'd done that. That came out really nice. I mean, who looks at the back of an apron, right? Hardly anybody. So I was really pleased with that one. So now I'm just wondering, yeah, I think I'll carry on with this plan. I'm going to cut a strip from this leg. It's not too heavy, so hopefully it won't be too bulky to sew through. And I'm going to hem that top edge. And then I'm going to see about ties and also getting the rest of my edges neatened off. I cut 2 lengths of a darker blue denim to make the curved armhole parts, or bind the curved armhole parts of the apron, and then this lighter piece to go across the top. So I'm going to finish this part, the armhole part first, and then go across the top, and that should hopefully neaten off any weird bits at the top here. So I cut this 4 inches wide, thinking 1 inch seam, and then I can just go foldy, right? And it would be fine, but it was going to come up short. So I ended up trimming a small strip off my seam allowances so that when I fold it twice, it'll go right over that seam line. There's still going to be all this raw stuff on the back from all my seaming and my pocket sewing, but that's all right. I want the binding though to stabilize the armhole and the top, because what I've decided to do is use a black webbing for the ties and not denim. So the nice thing about binding this edge, it means I shouldn't lose too much. If I had done a hem here, I'd have lost some of the finished width here, and I didn't want to do that. So this will maintain the same, pretty much the same width as I started out with doing the binding method. I'm pretty pleased with how this worked out. When it's flat on the table, it doesn't sit straight, but that's okay because it's going to be going around a body. And so this curved part should sit quite nicely on a person. And then for this top part, I measured what I needed in length, added an inch on each end, and I just tried to avoid the fabric getting away from me by sewing my little seam allowance down on each end, and then sewed it onto the front, flipped it to the back, and again sewed in the ditch. I pinned it carefully so I knew I was going to catch all of this along the back, and it worked. And this little piece of denim, which I folded 3 times and sewed into a little blob a while back, this is worth its weight in gold. When it got to this end of the seam here, and my machine would have just like given up around here when it hit all this bulk, I put this behind the walking foot. It raises the back of the foot, it went up, and then I scooched it forward, and then it carried on sewing, and then did a bit of a back stitch, and it worked perfectly. And I actually did it at the beginning of the seam as well, because I wanted to start sewing here, and so that the walking foot wasn't at a weird angle and it wasn't struggling, I had this behind here, just for my first little back stitch and go forward, and it made it so much easier. Now to hem the bottom and sides. At this point, I seem to have lost my microphone, and I didn't realize at first, so let's just talk you through what I'm doing here. I cut a piece of webbing for the left-hand side of this 30 inches long and sewed it down, and then I did a folded tab with 2 D-rings on the other side so that it could be an adjustable neck loop, which is good if you're having different height people wearing it, or if you want a different level of coverage. Sometimes you want it higher at the neck if you're stirring a particularly messy pot of soup or something. I positioned them away from the very edge because there was so much bulk on those corners. I did not want to be sewing through 25 layers of fabric. So that worked well. And then for the waist ties, I cut them 24 inches long, which was actually maybe a little bit short. And I also positioned those away from the corner because, again, it was a bit bulky. So there's the hem. It went a little bit wavy when I sewed across the hem, because these jeans are usually made with lycra or spandex in them these days, and they do stretch. And it wasn't a fancy hem at all, just one fold and boom, done. Very, very simple. And here's the finished apron. I'm not sure if it's going to stay living in my house or if I'll end up giving it away, but it was a fun make. And it used a lot of scraps of denim, although the box of denim still doesn't look any emptier. It's a lovely, soft, damp day today. It's actually raining, and we desperately need more rain. Look at my window boxes. Hoo-hoo. I've got time. Two kinds of thyme. I have sage and rosemary, lots of parsley, oregano or oregano, depending where you live, and 4 basil plants. Hang on a minute, I can't remember what I got now. 2 Thai basil and 2 Dolce Fresca. my bunting up again for the summer. Looking a little faded out now. Our kayaks, which haven't been used in far too long, I'm sad to say. This bird bath is very popular with the local population. And then I've got my Easter tub here, which isn't, the primula are not really doing very well now. They're pretty much done. I've got a couple of lovely geraniums in here, although this one hasn't flowered yet. Not sure what this one is. Here we are. Big Easy or Ease Pink Batik. And then these pots, I think it's an osteospermum and a nasturtium and pansy or viola. This is a, what do they call it? Fuchsia. Another geranium. More viola, like my favourite plants. Petunia, I think. I can't remember. And then, I can't remember what this is called either. Here we are. Lolly white chocolate auguranthemum. I love daisy looking plants. I think this is another forsythia. Fuchsia, I mean. Lena. Fuchsia. Getting them mixed up. Another nasturtium, another viola. I absolutely love nasturtiums. So basically this is all my favourite plants in one pot here. Nasturtiums, viola and daisies. So pretty. And yeah, the backyard's looking lovely and green. It really needs mowing. Mr. Stitches went out and got the gas cans filled up for the lawnmower yesterday. But gas is so expensive right now. AKA petrol, depending on where you live. So yeah, it's all looking a little messy right now, but I love it. The lilac is all leafed out. The walnut trees are looking good, although there's a few rather dead patches in the large walnut. The trees are definitely stressed because of the lack of moisture, unfortunately. We do have sprinklers, but we're not allowed to run them very much. The apricot's looking good. And hopefully if I move along here we can see the hawthorn tree. I can see it from my bedroom window, but I don't know if I can see it from here. The hawthorn tree is just slightly behind those tall ones, and it was really beautiful and bright pink, and now the colour has dimmed somewhat. So this is our vegetable plot. It's about 40 feet by 20, and it's got lots of couch grass in it, and Mr. Stitches has been digging out a patch of that on the regular basis to try and get it cleared. But for now we have lots of pots. There are onions and potatoes and marigolds, strawberries, all in pots down here. So being retired, he's got far more time now to deal with all that. Oh, it's lovely out here. It's got that lovely, damp, rainy smell. I love it. You may remember Cleo Cluck. I did a tutorial for this chicken, and I have decided to make a denim one, and I'm using one of these little patches that I did on linen with rubber stamps and Derwent Inktense pencils. So I've cut 2 squares of denim, 6 inches. I'm using a little bit of seam, which I'm hoping will be a handy little grabbing loop when this is done. And I have hand stitched this snail patch to this one. I haven't centered it because at some point I will be sewing, well, very soon I will be sewing this together, and I didn't want the patch to disappear underneath the chicken's body. I'm hoping this is going to work out. So as you can see, here's the patch, and then the gap here and here is bigger than here and here. I've moved it up diagonally from the center. Cross fingers, this is going to work out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to machine baste these bits on because they're bulky and they're going to slip like mad if I don't pre-attach them. And then I'm going to do that. So those 3 seams there, leave this one open, and then you squash it so that you then open the seam the other direction and sew across. I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam, and I did clip because the big bulk of the tab that I just basted on was pushing things around. Now this little piece of denim, folded denim, is again paying for itself. It didn't cost me anything, but I'm putting it behind the foot, the walking foot, so that it raises the back of the foot up while I'm going over the bulk of that bit of seam that I put inside there. I think I'm going to back stitch over that as well. Now this does tend to drop off. It does tend to drop off a little bit. Sorry, the light's not very good. I do have my ring light on above the machine, but of course this machine does not have a fantastic light on it. Bit dim. Oh no, I just realized. Okay, I just realized I sewed right through that little tab there. Let me just get that off and start again. All right, I'm going to put that there and then that there and make sure the needle doesn't go through my tab. So that's my 3 sides sewn. The denim tab's up here. This is the bottom edge. If you could see the snail, you'd see that this was the bottom edge. Now I'm going to just trim my corners. Tiny bit off here maybe. That doesn't actually matter because those are going to be flat in a minute. So you open it out and then you bring your seams together, and I like to nest them by pushing one seam allowance one way and the other one the other way. It always seems to fit better that way. And I clip that. Now, I'm not actually going to sew that bit. I'm going to sew out here and leave a gap for stuffing. So I'm just going to have to grab my toy stuffing in a second. I think this is going to be a pin cushion, if that works out, but it won't be a very heavy one. It's just going to have the polyester fibre fill in it. Okay, so this bit's not sewn yet. I'm going to turn this. Oh, yeah, let's just snippety snip. Grab some stuffing. All right, I'm going to use some of this green fill, which is a recycled polyester fibre fill. This is the point at which I am regretting not being able to find my thimble. Denim is thick and my skin is not. Let's see if I can find it in here. Oh, yes! Oh, thank goodness for that. I found it in this sewing pouch that I have been using for my Cotton Pearl 8. Phew, that's good. Hopefully that means I won't hurt my hand. Well, that was a tricky seam to sew, and I probably should have used something that matched the denim instead of the green I was using to machine sew. But never mind. There we are. A little snail pincushion. Or piece of decor or whatever. I like it. This next little project is a pincushion to hang off my sewing machine. I've cut 2 4-inch squares of coral dyed denim from way back, and I have attached this little bee stamp to it, and I embroidered some zzz buzzing on it as well. I've got a very skinny ribbon which I'm going to use to hang it from the side of my machine, and I've knotted it and basted it, so there shouldn't be any possibility of it coming out. I think what I might do is pin it down as well, so that when I sew the 2 bits together, hopefully it will not get caught in a seam. Put my 2 squares face to face, right sides together, and now I am just sewing around, pivoting at the corners with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I'll be leaving a turning gap along one side so that I can turn it right side out. I'm having fun and games with my recording today. I just realised I forgot to press record when I started talking about this pincushion, and then my microphone died. So we have a fresh charged microphone now, and it's definitely recording. Having fun times getting this turned out. This is a very stiff denim. I've stuffed this pretty full because I want it to be able to take a pin without it just shooting through out the other side. And I'm back to the thimble as well, because I just know it's going to be a challenge there. Well, I ended up doing more of a whip stitch than a ladder stitch on the bottom of that, because that was hard work. The edge of the linen got a little bit extra frayed as I turned it out, because it got manhandled or woman-handled so much. Okay, I think we need to test it out on the machine now. There we are. With a little knob there where my bobbin goes against when I'm filling it. It's a stopper so the bobbin doesn't get too full. So it just hangs over there. I barely use the hand wheel, so it shouldn't get in the way. And then it just hangs right there. Cute! Well, this vlog is going to go out earlier than I planned, because it seems I have enough material to publish it straight away. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm wearing the apron. That pocket makes a great place for a microphone. There's the 2 pockets there. I like that they're at an angle. That really works well. 3 pockets. Yeah, the width turned out well. The ties are nice. What's nice about this webbing is that it's not stiff and synthetic feeling. It's got cotton content and it's quite thin, so it works perfectly for ties for this. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Also, what else have I done? Yes, there's my sewing pincushion thing. I'm not sure if I am going to keep that. Probably not. I think I'll find a new home for that. I'm sure one of my friends would like that. And then there's the one I made for myself. And I'm very happy with that too. So I'm going to hang it back on my sewing machine right now. And there's a couple of things you haven't seen yet. I made a beanie. So that yarn that I used for the Starburst sweater, the blue sweater with all the crazy colours on the front, and then I used some of the leftovers to make that granny wrap, which you saw last time. Well, I had enough yarn left to make a beanie. Now, it took a bit of thought, but I decided just to make a double crochet beanie with a couple of rounds of front post, back post double crochet for the brim. As you can see, there wasn't quite enough pink to finish that round because I had to put a bit of orange in. And I have a handful of scraps left. And I'm thinking that if I can come up with some sort of creative idea for this, I might practice with my, where is it? Felting needle. I still have this felting needle with the 7 needles, and I'd quite like to have a play with that. I've seen Tori at Cool Cookie Creatures felting acrylic yarn onto something. Can't remember what it was now. But maybe I'll try felting it onto felt. I have lots of felt. I just need to figure out what I should put behind it so that the little needles don't go through and damage something underneath. I'll work that out. So that's a little finished object, probably a donation beanie. It's a child-sized one. I haven't tried it on myself, and I don't want to because I don't want to stretch it out, but I think it's a child-sized one. So that's done. And then I added a little bit more to my Wreck This journal today. It was a very crafty day. So let me see, what did I add that's new here? Oh yes. So there's a few pages at the beginning of the Wreck This journal by Keri Smith that are introduction pages, or they just don't have anything exciting on them. There's no art prompts on them. And so I decided to get my Dr. Seuss magazine out and do a little bit of collage. So that's what I did. That one says off the page, and that one says inside story, and then I cut a few of the characters out and a little bit of the text. So that was fun. And then what else? I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I was just sort of opening the book and thinking, what should I do? Bear with, I will just flick quickly through here. The pages I've used should pop up quite quickly or easily, because there's always a little bit of waviness or bulk to the pages that I've done. I don't think I showed you this one yet. I hope you're seeing that well. That one said, sew this page. And I added stitching with the flower. And then I had all these weird little sticky gems in my drawer. And I actually stuck a whole bunch of these to the back of my phone case, and I love them. They come on strings. You can peel them off the backing paper and they come off as a big string. They're easy to separate, but I just put tons of them on the back of my phone, and it feels really nice and it looks pretty too. Let me see, what next? I did this one. It says trace your hand. So I did that. It didn't come out as badly as I thought it was going to, actually. So I traced my left hand. And obviously I don't have nail polish on, but I made the nails pink anyway because it's a pretty colour. I used my Derwent Inktense pencils to make the nails pink. My wedding ring is yellow in here. I tried to do the knuckle lines, and And I did the blue veins because I have old lady hands now where the blue veins kind of stick out. I thought, okay, it's going to be more realistic. And I didn't really have a flesh-toned crayon pencil to use for that, but I think I used, what was it, earth brown, something like that. And I thought, oh well, it's going to look really tanned, but by the time it dried, it was actually about right. I'm sure there's at least one more. Oh, there's this one, yes. So there was another one here. It says, draw lines with your pen or pencil, lick your finger and smear the lines. I tried doing it with gel pen, but it didn't really smear. And then I tried it with a ballpoint pen, and it didn't really smear much either, a bit. And then I tried it with a pencil here. And then I wrote Inktense with an Inktense pencil, and then used a paintbrush just to smear it. And on the opposite side of the page, I drew a rainbow with my Inktense pencils, and then I took a really wet, wide brush and just went around and dragged. And I wrote Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I love that song. I'm not finding any more. Oh, yes, no, I am. Yes, no. One more thing. I did this page and it said, trace your toes. So I traced my toes, and then I made it look like I was wearing a flip-flop and that I had nail polish on. Again, I do not have nail polish on my toes. And it looks like I'm wearing a toe ring. I do not wear toe rings either, but you know, had to make it a bit more interesting. That was just pencil crayons. That was not Inktense. That was just regular pencil crayons. But yeah, that was fun. So I have to say, I'm having a lot of fun with this Wreck This journal. I do recommend it. Look in your local bookstore, preferably before going to the big American company with the multi-billionaire as a head, as a boss, if you can. But yeah, Wreck This journal. And there's quite a few other books by Keri Smith as well, along the same lines. And this piece of paper here, I just remembered, one of the prompts in the book says, scrunch up this piece of paper and then put this on the floor to make a little tent, and then pretend it's a little golf ball and you're trying to get the golf ball through there. So I kicked that in there a few times as if I was trying to do golf. And another thing I just remembered, oh my goodness, one of the pages says, scrunch it up, put it in your pocket and put it through the laundry and then paste it back in the book. So these jeans are going in the wash at the end of today. And I have the paper in my pocket ready to go. So we'll see what sort of state that piece of paper is in once it comes out the washer. If it's a nice day tomorrow, they'll probably be dried on the line. So I'll have to do my best not to lose that piece of paper. Well, guys, I think that's it. Yeah, hopefully on the weekend, I will be able to get lots done on that crochet vest. And I will be getting more done on the journal. I say on the weekend, I have a work shift tomorrow, but not Friday. So I have lots of time, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to do more journal, to do more crochet, or whatever else I feel like doing. And of course, I will be showing to you in the next video. So I hope you join me. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you again soon.